Welcome, everyone, and thanks for joining us today for our Build Business 2021 Conference and Conversation Series, where we'll be talking all things Build Business with specific speakers conducting sessions this year. I'm Whitney Watson, part of the Planning Committee at SMPS Build Business.
And I'm Michelle, also part of the Planning Committee for SMPS Build Business. Today, we're excited to have one of our Focus Forward speakers, David Beinetti. Did I say your name right, David?
Yes, you did.
Okay, good. He will be speaking about his session entitled CEO Perspectives, Deep Foundations for Resilience and Sustainable Growth. This year, Build Business is focused on the term RISE. RISE stands for resilience, impact, strength, and equity. David's session really captures all four, but today we're going to focus on impact and how to connect the themes of sustainability and growth that all of our leaders in our companies and across our client sectors are really looking for these days.
So David is the former president, CEO, and current chief marketing officer and a principal of SWBR. He's been with the firm since 1979 and over the past 40 years has rarely been found at his desk, but that's because his volunteerism and community service since he's always moving around. He brings a unique perspective to the AEC marketing and firm management sector. David, we're so excited to have you with us today. So we're going to hop right in and ask a first question. So let's tell the audience a little bit about your session at Build Business and what that will be on. Specifically, what you're going to focus on and what do you think what do you want attendees to take away from it?
Yeah, thank you, Whitney. Resilience, I love the word, and it's more of a big issue today than ever before as we've come through the last 14, 16 months, right? And we had a new understanding of resilience, frankly, and a lot of people are still dealing with it. And I don't want to make light of the fact that many, many people are still dealing with resilience issues. But through my years of experience, resilience has been critical in over 50 years of going through ups and downs. And in our industry, the AEC industry, anybody who's been in that industry and is in that industry understands that sustainable business is not always something that you can define yourself, because we are at the mercy of our clients and our supply chain, and the supply demand situation is pretty wacky at times. So what I want to talk about in my session is really getting to what Simon Sinek talks about as our why. Why do we exist? Mm-hmm. And what is our passion? I think it's more important today than ever before. Back when I was starting a business, we were, pretty much focused just on what we did and, and how we did it. But really the issue today, and especially with this generation who we employ, in a very excited way, employ the younger people. This generation is demanding to understand why. And so I want to talk about that when we get together, and how do we move toward that? How do we take what some of us oldsters used to focus on with just what we do and sell that to really getting to our why, like Simon talks about, and defining also in that what we're not and what we are, and what we should be doing and what we shouldn't be doing, because it really defines critically the success of a business. And so those are primarily what I want to talk about, and some of the research that can go on behind the scenes to help us understand that.
Absolutely. I like that, tying resilience and sustainability to the why and how essential that is. Maybe speak a little bit to how impact ties into that and applies to this session.
Yeah. If the understand passion statement, then sustainability is a natural outcome. Sustainability, and we talk about sustainability in the industry, sustainability of lead and energy performance. We talk about it in the form of of what we do for clients and their business case. But the issue of sustainability as it relates to business and the why situation is that if we can power through our marketing plans and understand our marketing plans are critically dependent upon getting past what and how to why, it will build a sustainable base for whatever we're doing, because our staff, our employees, everyone who's working for us get it. They all understand what's moving us forward. And as one team and as one group, it creates a sustainable platform, because we can all talk about what we do, but if we are all able to talk about why we do and bring a passion to the table, it just promotes a sustainable situation. So we have the energy, the passion, just like, in a LEED certified building to a great extent where we're managing our energy. It also correlates to what's going on in business as well. So I like bringing resilience and sustainability together. They are really part and parcel of one another.
Yeah, I like that too. And what if we look at, the audiences in which you've spoken to around topics of leadership and mentoring, risk management and professional development, and what we've been to, as you said, in the last 14 or so months. I guess what is that shift tied to the why and to getting to that, and then your own personal why? This is a big question. I tied a lot into that, David.
Yeah, and I don't want to be too lengthy in my response here, but this is a big issue, and it ties into a lot of different issues that are correlated and kind of have tendrils that all go through. I look at individuals, people, our team, our members who work for us as spheres, not flat. They're spheres in that they have many, many issues going on in their lives. They have personal lives that are very private sometimes. They have their business and career life. They have then, their possibly their volunteerism. We're very spherical in nature, and those parts and those cords that go across through that all have an impact on other things. I'm highly recommending a book, and I will be in the session, by Patrick Lencioni, who many people have heard of. And Patrick is an excellent teacher, educator on leadership. His latest book is called The Motive. And the interesting thing that he says about The Motive is that he wished he had written it first. After all the books he wrote, he wished he wrote it first, because what he gets to is what's the underlying passion and reason that we're doing what we're doing as leaders. Leaders need to not be leading from the top because they're leaders. They need to be leaders who are taking care of those that are in their charge and who are those who they are responsible for. And I compare that to, and this is kind of getting into my personal motivation, answering your second question, what's my why? I really see myself more as a shepherd, and I don't mean to be too literal with that, because although I have a farm and I have had farm animals, many of which are not willing to be shepherded, but the reality of, if you think about the idea of a shepherd, the issue really comes down to caretaking and being responsible for those in their charge. And obviously in the literal interpretation versus the corporate interpretation of being a shepherd. Somebody who can cast a vision, and that vision then allows for others to grab onto it. They have a handhold, just like they do on a tube when they're out on the lake and they're holding on for dear life behind a boat. They got to have a place to hold on to. They cast a vision. They're willing to sacrifice. It's another thing that shepherds are critically important to do. They have to be willing to sacrifice for the good of those who they're shepherding. They have to be selfless. And that's a very difficult thing to get to. And this is where Lencioni gets to in his book, The Motive. It's absolutely contrasting self-focused versus selfless. And I think for me, that's what I've learned through the years, is that my ultimate goal is to promote everyone else's success. Yes, certainly. Am I concerned about us as a whole being successful? I'd like to be successful myself. But if I can help others to be successful, I'm going to be successful as well. And conveying safety to them. The team does best when they feel safe and when they feel like they can fail forward, and they feel like they've got somebody behind them and got their back. And then lastly, a term that I've used here, which I will do the same thing I do with others. I preface it by saying this is a term that's not usually used in the business arena, and it's the word love. And it's like, whoa, dude, you're way out there. How can I, as a CEO or as a leader, love now? No, you've lost me now. That's way over the top. I don't even know if I understand what it is. But the reality is that I'm willing to give all I can for you. I'm willing to self-sacrifice. I'm willing to be unconditional. And in response, what that creates is an unconditionality in the team. And they do the same for each other. So I coach sports, and when I do that, I say my number one goal for you is that I need to love you. And my team members kind of go, whoa, dude, man, what do you coach? What are you talking about? I need to be there for you. I need to be everything for you. I need to pour myself into you, and you need to do the same for each other. So those are my key words: safety, vision, sacrifice, selflessness, and then finally love. That's really my personal why with what I'm doing here. And I think it gets, Lencioni gets at it in his book, The Motive, which I'd highly recommend.
That's fantastic. And so you just spoke to, what your why is. And I think that's a kind of a perfect segue into what I want to ask next. And that is, tell us a little bit more about yourself, specifically how you ended up in your career today. Like where it all began.
Oh, well, it's a lot of, and we mentor a lot of high school kids, and I work with a lot of high school kids. One of the success stories for me is that a lot of kids I've met with when they were 6th and 7th graders are now in school or out of school, and some working for us who are architects. I mean, so I was mentored by local folks, local guys here. And one of them in particular, Roger Brown, is still here, still alive. He's retired, but he was my mentor when I was in 10th or 11th grade. He was critical to helping me move forward in the profession. He really unwrapped what an architect did, and he understood it was important to convey to a younger person what that industry was all about and what the profession was all about. So that's really where I started, through the Explorer program, through Roger, his mentorship, and others. And then obviously went on to school, and after that got into a job. But when I got into a job, I was drafting using pencil on vellum, just like a lot of folks my age. And now obviously we've moved way on from that. But that's how I started. I think that's the easiest way to tell you, is that I got into it through high school.
Yeah, and is there anything, or maybe there are a few things from early in your life that inspired you that you still hang on to today?
My father, who was a lot older than I when I was born, an older gentleman when I was born, is no longer. But he was a CEO in a corporation, and he focused on service. He focused on the idea of a lot of what I was talking about, the issue of sacrifice and selflessness and shepherding. He was the president of a very large independent telephone company up in our area here, which had several hundred employees, some of whom are still alive and who I've run into. And they say, without exception, they say he was the most amazing leader. It didn't matter how many people he saw when he was doing the rounds or walking through the physical plant or going through. He knew everybody's name. He knew everyone, and he knew what they did and what they were responsible for. And so this idea of connecting with people on a humane scale is so absolutely critical. Business is business. It's not a club. We have to make money. We have to be profitable if we're going to go on. There's no question about that. Good business practice is critical, but we've got to be humane, and we have to understand that people are more important than projects. And at the end of the day, my project will get done. But if somebody is in need of help, or if somebody is struggling, or if somebody is in some way needing our support, we have to be there for them. My dad, I think, was probably the one who taught more of that about that than anything else. And so that's, I think, what I took away. I mean, the mentoring with Roger was critical, but my father was critical in that he was acting as a CEO in that position, and he was really being an example of exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's fantastic. What do you enjoy about presenting and being able to get on stage and share your why and share these stories and motivate others? What is it that you enjoy about being in front of an audience?
I do like to be in front of an audience, but not going back to early on. And so I teach public speaking here at the firm with some of the younger staff and encourage them. I think I'm willing to, and I'm interested in being in that position because there are a lot of ideals that I believe we share commonly. I think that we collectively have a lot of the same fundamental core values, worldview, and sometimes what it takes, frankly, is some encouragement. And so my hope is that with my passion and with my input, that what I'm doing is I'm encouraging. Take the step, be willing to go forward, implement it. If you're struggling with the idea of being selfless, I want to encourage you to try it. I want to encourage you to move forward. I want to encourage you to be thinking of yourself as a shepherd for those who you're working for and with. So I think, Whitney, as much as anything, it's sometimes, you just got to tell somebody to believe in themselves. And it helps a lot for them to get to the next level. I've got a couple of girls playing for me right now on my team, and they have low self-confidence. And I think that one of the things I can do for them in their life skills development, because I see them as graduates and as successful young women and as career people and as scientists and others, at this age, they just need encouragement. They need somebody to say, I believe in you, and I believe you can really do a great job. Keep moving forward.
Yeah, a few words are very powerful.
I already feel the encouragement, David. In our live stream, it's working.
Good.
Being on a stage or being on a live stream. I was curious, going back to Whitney's question about your sort of journey to where you started, right? You talk about mentorship, you talked about architecture and serving, you served as the president of your company, and now you're serving as the chief marketing officer.
Right.
Maybe talk a little bit about that transition. Build businesses. We are marketers, we are business developers, and I guess how did you get to that role?
Well, we being a little over 50 years and having gone through 3 or 4 generations, the phrase we use is when you get up out of your chair, always look behind and make sure that you see somebody sitting there to replace yourself, and then pour yourself into them. And it may be 2 or 3 people. I'm working now for the younger man who I mentored when he was in 8th grade. He's currently the president, and I work for him. And some might say, that'd be tough for me to do, but it's a real privilege to be able to work for somebody who I've seen grow up in the industry. So we have a very strong succession plan, and we really pour ourselves into it, and we take it very seriously that none of us are indispensable, but all of us are critical. And as one team, we need everyone to be able to be successful. So when it comes to the marketing arena, it's easy for me to sell the firm and to push the firm and to talk about the firm and to build relationships because I have so much love for the people who are here. I'm so excited about each one of them and what they do. And their humaneness and their humanity is so amazing. So, but yeah, I've switched roles, and to a certain extent, we were not sure, frankly, what title to give to me, because after I was the president and CEO, what was I going to be? I had suggested just the OD, which stood for old dog, but but we hit on, we said, all right, well, how about CMO? And here's the thing about it, I don't have any training in that. I respect the SMPS and the work they're doing, and the folks that we have here who work with me have gotten phenomenal education, phenomenal training, incredible capability because of SMPS. Just, I can't say enough about it, but I don't technically even have that background. So I am doing the best I can basically to help them succeed and allow them to flourish in what they're doing. And, but it is a change, as you're saying, Michelle. I stepped to the side, I guess, is the most important thing, and to allow others to succeed at what they were doing really best at, you know.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like they wanted to keep you in a critical role. So that's a good new title.
I'm going to be giving it up, though, in a year, and just moving into just simply principal of business development, I think is what they were going to call it. We're working on a org chart right now.
Right. There's a question that came from in the comment from the audience. If you'll take that really quickly, I'll read it to you. You talk about passion at the beginning. What if people have more than one passion? How do they find time to focus on both when time is limited? Or do you think that they need to choose one passion and go with that?
It's a great question. I would never want to limit anyone's passion points. It's cliche to say life is too short. Obviously, we all understand that. But the reality is, if we have multiple passions, the real goal is to figure out how to be able to pursue them simultaneously. We talk about balance in life, work-life balance. I don't like that title personally. I like to talk about a work-life rhythm. A work-life rhythm, because we go through seasons that are different in our lives. When we are, for anyone who's going to move into a marriage relationship, prior to that, they're in obviously a single relationship. Their whole life is very different at that point. If they move forward into a marriage relationship, it's very different again. If they then move forward into raising a family, those seasons require rhythm. And yeah, you can argue with me that they require balance, but I contend that it's almost impossible to find balance at all the time. So I like to allow people to pursue multiple passions, to be honest with you. It depends on what it is. I mean, sometimes we get into a discussion here about, well, do I want to be a project manager? Do I want to be a designer? Do I want to be a project manager? Do I want to be a designer? And would say, well, yes, you can be both. It's a both and situation. But it's getting to your rhythm point, because you need to look at it as almost like waves that kind of roll so subtly on the ocean, and you got this rhythm going on. So I think passions can be multiple as long as there's a rhythm, and we focus on getting a rhythm in our life.
Absolutely. So I didn't want to miss the opportunity to ask you about research. Your session addresses research, and maybe you can say a few words about I guess the value of research in what we do.
Well, I can tell you, at least from the standpoint of an AE firm, and it's probably true across the industry in a lot of ways, none of us are drawn heavily to research. There are certainly people who have gifts in that area, and they have a lot of training and background, and they're great researchers. But as a rule, spending a lot of time on research is not a very, it's not as exciting as doing other things in our broad arena of marketing, business development, client experience, and all that. It just isn't, but it's absolutely critical. So when I talk about this, what I talk about is getting out, getting up off of our seats now, fortunately, out of our seats, but even doing it virtually. When a year and a half ago, I spent a lot of time on one-on-one conversations, just asking our clients, how are they doing? What do they want? What do they require? What are their needs right now? So I think the research I'm talking about isn't necessarily empirical research, although that's critical as well. But this is relationship building, where I can have a relationship and I can ask somebody very openly, about, what's their why, what is their need, how do we relate to each other, what's the value we bring to them, and what are their needs? How can we take care of you? How can we care for you in the future? How can we be supportive of you? The research, I believe, I don't like the idea of selling for the sake of selling. I like the idea of building a relationship, because sometimes my number one thing I need to tell somebody is, no, it's not good for you to do this thing, as opposed to hire me and I'll do everything you need. Now, sometimes the answer is no. And we have to do the research to understand. We have to know them personally. We have to know what their lives are all about. Again, coming back to the spherical situation of who a person is. That's my research.
Sounds like you're focused on impact.
Yes, hopefully. Yeah.
Well, David, thanks so much for taking the time to speak with us today. I quickly want to say that a few minutes ago you mentioned, and I'm paraphrasing here, but you mentioned about, if you're going to stand up from your seat, make sure there's someone sitting behind you. And I love that. It reminds me of something that I heard from a mentor of mine several years ago in an industry organization. And she said, build what lasts longer than you.
Yes.
And those words stuck with me. And so, when we're thinking about working with our teams, it's building them up as individuals, but also like passing along that knowledge, passing along those resources to make them better and ultimately grow. So I love that. But, thank you again. To our audience today, we're so happy you were able to join us. And please be sure to register for Build Business 2021 that will take place August 2nd through the 6th. You can check out David's session live on August 4th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time on the Build Business 2021 event platform once you've registered. For more information and to register now, go to smps.org/buildbusiness.
And then one other quick reminder is if you register before July 5th, you'll get the early bird rate, and you will also, it will give time for shipping to deliver your Build Business Experience Rise Experience Kit. So thanks again, David. We are excited
Thank
to
you.
your session in August. Bye, everyone.
Yep. Bye.
Bye-bye.